What's going on, New York Giants fans? Back at it here with another video. And in this video, I'm going to make my 2021 record prediction for this football team, as week one is just days away. And I'm really excited to see how it all unfolds on Sunday against the Denver Broncos. I will be in attendance. Now, before I get into my season record prediction, I want to remind you all to make sure to go follow us on our social media platforms. We have an Instagram and a Twitter where we are very active, posting daily stuff up there. And then our YouTube channel, Big Blue Avenue. Our first Facebook live stream of the season just dropped last night. Had an awesome discussion with my co-host, Hank Indictor, and Sam Cardona, and then our special guest, Ross Allen, who brought the Denver Broncos perspective into this football game this weekend. So without further ado, the New York Giants 2021 record prediction coming from myself. So just a couple of things. Obviously, last year we were 6-10. We had a terrible start to the season. We were 1-7. Then we won 4 straight, and then we lost 3 out of the last 4. So it was pretty much an up and down season, a lot more down than up. But there is a reason to believe that this football team will be much improved in 2021, being that they've had a full off season together. They didn't have that in 2020. Joe Judge, second year as head coach. Jason Garrett and Patrick Graham both coming back as offense and defensive coordinators. The Giants went out and signed a bona fide number 1 wide receiver in Kenny Golladay. They added Kyle Rudolph and Kadarius Toney as offensive weapons for Daniel Jones. They added depth pieces on the offense like Devontae Booker and John Ross. They also went out defensively, brought in Danny Shelton. They re-signed Austin Johnson, signed Reggie Ragland, and got a pure cornerback 2 in Adoree Jackson. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what those players bring to the table this year for the Giants. And as I mentioned last night on Big Blue Avenue, my favorite acquisition as of late was the trade for Ben Bredeson. I think he could be our starting left guard and will be our starting left guard by about week 2, week 3, because Shane Lemieux is playing through an injury this season. So it'll be interesting to see how that holds up. So we do play the Denver Broncos this weekend. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. New quarterback they have in Teddy Bridgewater that they traded for literally a day or two before the draft this year. He beats out Drew Lock for now. Old familiar face in Pat Shurmur running their offensive coordinator, returned to MetLife. 20th anniversary of 9/11. I think the Giants are going to win this football game. There's a lot riding on it. Week 1 has not been very kind to the Giants. If I'm not mistaken, they haven't won a week 1 game since 2016. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Sterling Shepard's the only current player on our roster who's won a week 1 game with the Giants. So I think the Giants are going to get off to a good start, 1-0 against the Denver Broncos. I think this is a low-scoring game. Maybe one team hits 20-plus points. I think that's probably where you go here. In week 2, this is a short week, Thursday night football at the Washington football team. And the early lines have come out for that game already. Washington is favored by 5. Eventually, there comes a point in time where Washington's going to beat us. We've beaten them, I believe, in 5 straight matchups. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Giants continue their success against Washington this season. I think Washington is an improved football team with a top 5 defense. There's still a lot of question marks at that quarterback position. But traveling on the road on a short week, I think the Giants are going to drop this football game and fall to 1-1. Obviously, the health isn't there yet. I don't think we'll have Evan Ingram for the week 2 game as well. Obviously, he was ruled out for the Denver game, and being that he's on a short week, I don't think he'll have enough practice time to play in week 2. Not that I say that's going to be a huge factor in that game, but I think Washington is a little bit better than we are defensively and can control the tempo. I think it's going to take the Giants a couple of weeks to hit their stride. So moving on to week 3, we have the Eli Manning Ring of Honor induction. They're retiring his number 10. This is our second home game of the season against the Atlanta Falcons, a team that they went out and they drafted Kyle Pitts, 4th overall. They're sticking with Matty Ice, who is very familiar. The last Giants playoff win at home was against the Atlanta Falcons and Matty Ice. So the Giants, have experience playing against Matt Ryan defensively. I think they're able to contain guys like Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. Obviously, they traded away Julio Jones, so that's one less target to really worry about at this time. And the Falcons don't scare me too much. Their defense is not too great. They lost Dan Quinn, the new change at head coach this year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, but I think the Giants win another close one against the Atlanta Falcons, probably about by 4 to 7 points. I think they're going to pull that one out. Now, week 4, this is going to be interesting. The Giants are supposed to be at New Orleans, but New Orleans, of course, is suffering the after effects of Hurricane Ida. And I believe the first 4 weeks as of now, they're not able to host any home games. So I believe the Saints game will be played elsewhere. I actually don't know if they announced the location for that game yet, but I know it won't be in New Orleans. Knowing that, I'm actually going to pick the Giants to win this football game. I know the Saints have a good defense, but I don't trust Jameis Winston. A lot of people think he's going to play a lot better this season, learning under Drew Brees for a year. I still think his turnovers are a problem. While his offensive line is really good, he's not going to have Michael Thomas. The receiving corps just isn't there. It's not the same as it was in years past. I mean, we're talking about guys like Traquan Smith and Deontay Harris potentially being his 1 and 2 targets, and that just really doesn't scare me at all. So I understand Alvin Kamara is pretty much the focal point of their offense, and if the Giants are able to neutralize him, I think they're able to pull off this football game and move on to 3-1. Now, week 5, this is not an ideal start to your division record, but I do have the Giants dropping this one on the road to the Cowboys to fall to 0-2 in the NFC East. So the Giants have won 3 non-conference games, or 1 non-conference game and 3 non-divisional games. That's what I meant to say. So the Cowboys, look, Dak is back. They looked really good against the Bucs. They weren't able to come out with that win, but you'll see later on, I do have the Giants splitting with the Cowboys, and I think they're due for a loss here. They're going to drop to 3-2. Obviously, there are some injury concerns. We know Zach Martin was put on the COVID list. He'll be back by then for week 5. But La'el Collins is going to miss significant time, we just heard today. And then Michael Gallup as well is on the injured list. I believe he's going to be out for several weeks. So they are already dealing with the injury bug on their offense. So I think that's going to hurt them and hurt Dak Prescott a little bit. I do think this is a close football game, but I do think the Cowboys will ultimately pull it out. So the Giants drop to 3-2. Now we head home to play against the LA Rams. And last year, nasty Nick Gates was not afraid to get in the hair of Aaron Donald. A lot of players are afraid to stand up to this guy in Aaron Donald, but not Nick Gates. Nick Gates did a fantastic job. The New York Giants came into this game. They only scored 9 points, but they only lost by 8. They stuck around in a football game that a lot of people thought they had no business in. I don't see the Giants pulling this one out, unfortunately. I think the Rams now with a new quarterback in Matthew Stafford, they're going to be a lot more fired up for this football game, offensively wise. I know they're dealing with some running back issues. They lost Cam Akers for the season. And I think Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, it's just going to be too much for the Giants defensively to handle for 4 quarters. I think the reason why I say that is because I think the offense will have trouble staying on the field against that stout Rams defense. So while I think it'll be close in the first half, I do see the Rams pulling away and eventually winning this game by around 10 points. Week 7, we're home against Carolina, so Sam Darnold returns to MetLife against the Giants. I think the Giants are going to win this football game. This is Marvel Superhero Comic Book Day, so that should be a fun little promotion for the team. I believe that the Panthers are a much improved football team that a lot of people should be keeping their eye on this year. They might be the second best team in the NFC South behind Tampa, and we don't even know it. They are getting Christian McCaffrey back in the backfield as well, so they've already upgraded at 2 positions last season, and we saw what Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore were able to do at those 2 wide receiver spots, not to mention they drafted rookie Terrace Marshall out of LSU, so that is a little concerning. Defensively, they're still iffy. They do have some good players, but I do think the Giants are going to pull this one out in a close one. Give me around a 23-20 final for this game. So the Giants are now sitting here at 4-2, heading into Kansas City at week 8. And this is a good thing that this game is on the road because I think the Giants would have lost this game anyway. So the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'd say the Giants will actually keep it closer than people think. I think they'll lose by less than 2 touchdowns. I think the Giants are going to potentially jump out to an early lead in this game, whether it's 3-0 or something along those lines. But Patrick Mahomes, it's just going to be too much for the Giants to handle throughout all 4 quarters. And the Giants, they do have a good secondary, but there are a lot of young players out there. like Xavier McKinney, Dory Jackson, Darnay Holmes. Aaron Robinson will be back by that point, hopefully. So I think the youth may get a little exposed in that game. So give me Kansas City. Giants are now 4-3. Week 9, home against the Vegas Raiders. Nobody really scares me on the Raiders outside of Darren Waller. The Giants can't cover tight ends. So I think the Giants are going to win this game by around 7 to 10 points. I don't see the Raiders hanging in there late in the game. Derek Carr, I mean, he's been their quarterback forever. I don't really think the Raiders are going to have that good of a season. I think the Giants are in store for a 5-3 start heading into the bye. Week 10 is our bye, then we're at Tampa for week 11. Put this game on upset watch. Now, I'm not going to pick the Giants to win this football game, but if there's a game that we win this year that we shouldn't, it's this game, because we know the Giants are Tom Brady's kryptonite in the postseason, not necessarily the regular season. But Tom Brady hates playing the Giants. He has a lot of respect for the organization and the coaching staff. Joe Judge does have familiarity with him. So does Patrick Graham. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Brady performs, because last year the Giants only lost by 2 points, and you can make a few arguments if one or two things went a certain way, the Giants would have won that football game. Giants did hold a lead in that game too. I think we were up 14-6 at one point in the first half. So, the Giants have the ability and talent to compete with this Tampa Bay Bucs roster. We saw with the Cowboys, who have literally, again, I don't want to judge off of week 1, but a new, fresh, young defense that was able to hang in there with Tampa Bay last night. And I think the Giants defense is light years ahead of Dallas. So what does that mean for this week 11 game? I think Tampa Bay scoots by, maybe by a field goal. I really do. I think the Giants are going to compete, but they are going to drop to 5-4. So week 12, home against Philadelphia. Mark that as a dub. We're moving on to 6-4. The Giants, I do believe, are going to win both matchups against the Eagles this year. The Eagles are not a great football team. I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts. There's a chance Gardner Minshew might be starting at this point. I'm personally more concerned about Minshew than I am Hurts, because we know what we're getting from Jalen Hurts. The Giants have never seen Gardner Minshew before, so that will be interesting. Week 13, I think we're going to win at Miami. I think this is the one game that a lot of people maybe won't expect us to win at this point. We haven't really proven ourselves on the road yet so far with the predictions I've made. The only road win we've had up until this point was against the New Orleans Saints, and that really wasn't even a true road game. That was a neutral site location. If the Giants are going to be a playoff team, they're going to have to win road games against good teams, and I think it starts here with Miami in Week 13. Tua Tagovailoa is not the best NFL quarterback at the moment. He's still young. He's still developing, similar to our guy, Daniel Jones. So I think the Giants are going to scoot this one out. Brian Flores and Joe Judge have a ton of familiarity with each other. Two good, young, talented head coaches with a lot of good, innovative ideas. So expect to see a lot of schematics run in this game where, I think this might be the funnest Giants game to watch this season in Week 13 at Miami. This is the extra game, by the way. This is technically, I know it's being played in Week 13, but this is the 17th game. So Week 14, we're at LA. We're not winning 2 road games in a row against 2 quality AFC opponents. I have us losing to the Chargers. A little jet lag going from Florida to California. I just don't see the Giants being able to. I think they'll be able to contain Justin Herbert. I just don't see the Giants being able to stay on the field offensively, because the Chargers they're getting Joey Bosa back. They're getting Derwin James back. So those are 2 good young players that the Chargers have. Not to mention, I believe they signed Kyler Fackrell, who played for us last year. So there's some little connection right there. And Brandon Staley is a defensive-minded head coach. So I do think that the Chargers' defense will be much improved. And the Chargers lost a few of their games last season due to poor play calling by head coach Anthony Lynn. Moving on to Week 15. So now, if I'm doing the math correctly, we have 7 wins and 5 losses. Let me just double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 7-6. Cool. 7-6 with 4 games to go. So now this is crunch time, right? The Giants are right in the thick of it in the NFC East. We have our next 2 games, which are both divisional, playing the Dallas Cowboys at home, Week 15. Mark this one a win. At this point, Dallas is going to be a lot more banged up than they are now. They had bad injury luck last year. I'm predicting that to be the same case this year. Not that I want that to happen, but they've had some issues over the past couple of years. So I think the Giants are going to win this football game. I think Barkley's going to have a great day on that defense. I think Daniel Jones is going to pick on that secondary. Kenny Golladay going up, making contested catches. And I think the Giants are going to win by about a touchdown. I think the Giants are the better football team than the Dallas Cowboys at this point of the season. Because I do think their offense is going to gel and be a top 20 offense this season. So Week 16, we're at Philadelphia, the most dismal place to play in the NFL, and the Giants are going to come out of this one with a win. They should have come out of it with the win last year, but Evan Ingram's catching technique probably kept us out of the playoffs. I mean, you could argue that for several different teams having several different moments like that, but it's true. If Evan Ingram catches that football, the Giants win that football game. So I think this time around, the Giants have learned their lesson. The play calling will be better. The Giants are going to beat Philadelphia in Philly to improve to 9-6. So now 2 games to go. We're at Chicago. Again, back-to-back road games. I don't know if I see us pulling this one out, only because I think Justin Fields is starting by this point in Week 17. David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet are great targets offensively for the Bears. Their offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. But the problem that I have with this game is I think the Giants are riding high. They've come away with 2 division wins in a row. You have a lot of confidence going into Chicago, but at that point, the weather's going to play a factor. I don't think the Giants are going to win this football game. I think they're losing by around a field goal, 3 or 4 points. And I think the Bears are going to win, although I don't think the Bears will have the best season. I think I mentioned earlier, Miami, a game a lot of people may predict us to lose on the road. I have the Giants winning that, but I have the Giants losing to Chicago, a game that some people think they might win. So those are the little 2 different outcomes that I have going right there. Try not to always put the most logical approach because sometimes whatever you predict is never going to happen. So just trying to be a little different. Week 18, home against Washington. This game, I think, will be for the NFC East crown. I think Daniel Jones is going to go all out. I don't think Washington can win this division 2 years in a row with the same problem at quarterback that they've had, despite Fitzpatrick being an upgrade over whether it's Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, or Taylor Heineke. At this point, Heineke could be starting. Fitzmagic could be starting. I think the Giants are going to win this football game. They learned their lesson from last year. Keep in mind the Cowboys do play the Eagles in Week 18, so they might be scoreboard watching that game to see how the Cowboys are doing because Dallas will probably be in the mix still as well, especially with the way they performed last night. But I ultimately think the Giants will go 10-7 and win the NFC East in 2021. Folks, that is my record prediction for the New York Football Giants. I think this is going to be an awesome season. I'm really looking forward to it. If I'm not mistaken, I have us going 7-1 at home. I only have us losing 1 home game to the Rams in Week 6. And then I'm looking at the schedule here. I only have us winning road games against Miami and the Saints. And I might have one more, actually, the Philadelphia game. So I have us going 3-6 on the road. So 7-1 at home, 3-6 on the road. That's because we have 9 road games and 8 away games. The Saints game, you may even really not count that. So now it's more like 8-8 with a neutral site game. So it's going to be a lot of fun, folks. If you like what you watch, make sure to check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us at Big Blue Avenue. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well for up-to-date content. We'll have another Facebook live stream next Thursday before kickoff as we preview the Giants' Week 2 matchup of the Giants and the Washington football team. I'll be sure to put out at least one other video before then, kind of recapping the Denver game a little bit, getting some thoughts. But, folks, thank you all very much for watching this video. Enjoy the Week 1 football games, and let's go Big Blue.